أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I begin, as I always begin, in the name of Allah, whose grace I seek in this and all other matters. Today I'm going to do a walkthrough of some of the talismans and symbols that I have in my house, starting with the Bismillah on the door, which is from a Turkish tile, and over the door is an anglicized Latin letter version of Bismillah, and the front window has crystals because crystals refract the light, and in doing so they helped to outline the spectrum, the characteristics of those who receive the light as a way to deter those with darkness from entering into the spaces. So those are the things that I have in my front door. Then I have my office, and over my head, the batik that I use as my backdrop is again the name of Allah. This will give me an opportunity to talk a little bit about the elephant as my spirit animal. There's another elephant here on a incense burner, and a clear elephant here. I'm going to do this conversation by going out my side door and showing you where I have Lord Ganesha, because it was learning about Lord Ganesha when I was living in India that really helped to solidify my relationship with it as a spirit animal, because it was described that the trunk of the elephant, this is an elephant head god from the pantheon of Hindu gods and goddesses, the trunk of the animal sweeps back and forth to remove negative energy, to prevent those things from coming in, and acts thus as a protection from what's behind, and also as a form of prosperity. When I understood this characteristic of the elephant, which had already been my favorite, I also understood that I had been given the gift of understanding the elephant as a specific talisman for me, that my attraction to it yielded dimensions in addition to the dimensions of its outward form. I have a lot of Hand of Fatimas. This one on the altar is with the Hebrew letters spelling Chaim, which is my grandson's name. His dad is descended from Polish Jews. I normally take every door that I have and I put a Hand of Fatima or an elephant hanging at the door as a way to allow for a protective energy just at the place of entry. So this is my bedroom, and I have another elephant. And this is the Eye of Fatima, also from Turkey. And the Eye of Fatima and the Hand of Fatima are both said to ward off the evil eye. Just going to show you these before I make a conversation about all of them. This is Balinese mask. I have it in my kitchen. I have some issues with the energy in my kitchen, and I thought, well, local negativities definitely need local icons and the like if you want to be able to ward them off. So the notion of the negative energy and positive energy is everywhere. and negative things and positive things, and negative people and positive people. And for me, I have understood that as a public figure, I also need to think about ways of having protection on my person. That's one of the reasons why whenever I do formal, semi-formal events, I tend to wear my scarf. I also tend to wear certain jewelry, certain stones and the like. So anything with the name of Allah, this is La ilaha illallah. This is a particular stone that's supposed to be more powerful than a crystal. I got this one from a Kashmiri merchant when I was doing an Ayurveda treatment in India. At that same retreat, I also got this elephant who is yin and yang. The front, the two sides portray different aspects of the same light and benefit. This black thing just rolls around. You can't kind of see that. I also have smaller eyes of Fatima and elephant jewelry. These are the two favorites that I wear on my person. At all times that I have a formal event, I will have one of these on as a form of protection. I might just have this little bracelet. Less often I will wear the yin yang symbol. I have a big one for my house. I want an even bigger one. And obviously on my dresser I still just have the elephant. And this little card, by the way, is also another talisman for me, because when you have people that bring love and light in your life, like my sister did for the last 4 years of her life, where all of a sudden we became friends, where we had not really known each other because I'm 14 years older than her, and almost from the moment she was born, I was in preparation for leaving my family to go off for school purposes, and so we never lived together. And she grew up and became an adult, and I grew up and became an adult and got married and, you know, traveled and all kinds of stuff, and I would just visit her when I would visit my family. But all of a sudden we became fast friends, and it only lasted for 4 years, and then she, without any warning, literally went to bed and breathed her last breath, and that was the end of it. And yet the benefits from her continued so many times afterwards. So she is one of my spirit guides, and at this point her guidance is on the other side because she's no longer living. And her guidance sometimes aligns with my mother, with whom I had a tumultuous relationship, but who nevertheless still seems to send me messages and makes inquiries. And whenever I get a feeling of a message or an inquiry from the two of them, I follow up, and some interesting things have happened as a result. So I say all these things to indicate that in Islam we believe in the unseen world. Alim al-Shahada is the seen world, and Alim al-Ghaib is the unseen world. So the unseen world has its own energies, both positive and negative. So for example, the Quran talks about the whisperer who whispers from among the jinn and among men. So if it's among the jinn, you don't know where an idea might come to you. It's coming from somewhere, and so you can ascribe it to some unseen energy or force. My strongest belief comes with La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no power or strength except in Allah. So even though I have these things and I participate in them and I make sure that I provide for myself some idea about the benefits of these things. Okay, this Bismillah is not as visible when the light is behind it. Even though I play around with these things, and as you have noticed, I start all of my programs with an external Bismillah. I don't worship these things, so I can have Kuan Yin, the feminine energy goddess from both Chinese and Indian pantheons. Without worshipping Kuan Yin, I worship only Allah. And yet Allah has the feature of what they call tajalli. That is, from Allah's jalal, from Allah's exertion of his or her reality beyond the reality of itself, we are all created. In fact, everything is a projection, a theophany, a creation of Allah, because Allah is the creator. And in the trajectory of these things, the energy flow can affirm the goodness or can distract from goodness. So I became very attuned to the ways in which different people at different times and in different ways utilize symbolic inflections of that tajalli, of that theophany, of that energy that comes from Allah, and how that energy is part of the transmission of the divine and sacred energy, and the niyyah, the intention, that is the intentionality behind the placement of these items, these talismans, these symbols. Writing itself is a symbol, so the Bismillah in Latin letters and the word Allah over my office space. All of these assertions allow me to make a dua, just like the dua at the beginning of my talk. I make those assertions in the name of Allah as a way to indicate my sense of awareness that there is a flow of energy back and forth, in and out the door and the like. Now, I live here in Indonesia, and interestingly enough, I have learned just coincidentally as part of absorbing, new languages, that Indonesians will, even though they don't, I don't lock my door and my door is open and people coming in and out, people who, work with me or work for me, they don't do so just because the door is open. They always speak from the outside, and they say, "Excuse me, permisi," like, ba'iznik in Arabic, with your permission. And I usually say silakan, which means please, but then I notice that it's more effective if I say silakan masuk, please come in. So when the maid comes, she is, she's on her way in the door as a rhythm, but she takes permission, and this is from the Quranic verse about istihzan, to take permission before you enter into people's private spaces, and there is thus an indication that spaces are the private property and or the sacred locality for others, and one should not simply intrude. I feel this way about all portals, doorways, and windows have the opportunity to let in both positive and negative energy. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie Lost Boys, and the vampire comes to the door, and the guy lets him in, and it's like, he stays there and he seeks permission, and he's given the permission, and once he's given the permission, then there's no way to keep him out. So I think about that because obviously I don't want negativity coming into my house. I don't want negative people to come into my house. So what I do is I create like a force field. And in that force field, I evoke the energy of my awareness that there is more to life than what meets the eye. And by my evocation, Bismillah, in the name of Allah, by that evocation, I set certain limits and I grant certain permissions. Before I close, I do want to say one last thing about spirit animals, because people have asked me. I think if you are to have a spirit animal, then you need to find such within yourself. It's not just animals that you like. I love monkeys. I think they're probably my favorite. But the elephant, as I said, went through a transformation from just my liking it to understanding the nature of the elephant itself and how those qualities and characteristics assist in my capacity to complete my mission on the planet Earth. And obviously in the Quran, that mission is to be a Khalifa. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi Khalifa. I've created on the earth a Khalifa. So my purpose is to serve Allah through service in the creation, and to me that service is justice and dignity and honor and compassion and love. And I recognized when I was living in India in 2012 that I had internalized certain characteristics of the elephant as part of the path of me fulfilling that mission on the earth. It was not planned. I wasn't even looking for a spirit guide. As I said, I love the monkeys and I love the elephants, but then the elephant became a different kind of symbol. As I said, I think with the explanation of the characteristics of Lord Ganesha that was given to me by a friend, a man that I met there, and he had taken me to the temple on the holiday when they celebrate the Ganesha by throwing effigies of Ganesha into the river, into the water, or into the lake. And he talked about how the elephant trunk sweeps away the negativity. And all of a sudden I understood that I am inside of this reality, and I need it, and I benefit from it, and I will be benefited because of it. And so now I always try to have a Ganesha symbol pointing outward somewhere in my home as a way to continue with the evocation of the divine reality, Allah, as it is manifest in myself, in the universe, in my home, and on my body. Thank you.